The District, Season 1, Chapter 4, The Compliance Office. Isabel meets Richard Holt face to face for the first time during a routine compliance review. But one question he asks her lands a little too close to the thing she's been quietly carrying in her notebook. What does it mean to go over something with someone at work? Why do we say someone puts you on the spot? And what really happens to the word did when we ask quick questions? Monday morning brought Isabel her first real meeting on the calendar, a routine compliance review with Richard Holt, head of compliance. Don't overthink it, James told her, walking past her desk. Richard does this with everyone. He just goes over your reports, asks a few questions, makes sure everything's properly documented. Pure procedure. Should I bring anything? Isabel asked. Just your laptop and your patience, James said, smiling. He's thorough. Some people find it intense. I just find it boring. At 10 o'clock sharp, Isabel knocked on the door of a small glass walled office near the back of the floor. Richard Holt looked up from his screen. Early 50s, neat, unreadable, the kind of person whose face gave away exactly nothing. Isabel, have a seat. Thank you, she said, sitting carefully. This won't take long, Richard said. I like to go over new analysts' early reports just to make sure everyone's settling into the documentation process correctly. Nothing personal, just procedure. Of course, Isabel said. He pulled up several of her files on the shared screen between them, scrolling with a kind of quiet precision, occasionally nodding to himself. For a while, the questions were exactly as routine as James had promised: formatting, sourcing, double checking column labels. Then, Richard paused on one particular report. These transfer, he said, tapping the screen lightly. Under this client code, did you flag this with anyone? Isabel's stomach tightened slightly. It was the same number, the one she'd noticed days ago, the one James had told her not to worry about. I mentioned it to James, she said carefully. He said it was probably just a system lag, common with newer accounts. Richard didn't respond right away. He simply looked at the number a moment longer, his expression unreadable. And did that explanation satisfy you? The question caught her slightly off guard. Not aggressive, but oddly specific, almost as if he already suspected the answer. I assumed he knew more about it than I did, Isabel said. I'm still new. Richard nodded slowly, making a small note on his tablet. That's a fair assumption for now. Is something wrong? Isabel asked, unable to stop herself. No, Richard said simply. I ask everyone the same kinds of questions. It's my job to be thorough. He closed the file. If you ever notice something that doesn't add up, even something small, you're welcome to bring it directly to me. Not everything needs to go through someone else first. It wasn't quite an accusation, but it wasn't nothing either. I'll remember that, Isabel said. Good. Richard's tone shifted back to something more neutral. That's all for today. Welcome to Spanstone, by the way. People don't always say that properly. Thank you, Isabel said, surprised by the small warmth in his voice. Walking back to her desk, Isabel felt strangely unsettled. Though nothing about the meeting had technically gone wrong, if anything, it had gone exactly as James described. And yet, Richard's question kept replaying in her mind. Did that explanation satisfy you? It was such a small sentence, but it felt like he already knew the answer was no. Hi everyone, welcome back to The District, Chapter 4, The Compliance Office. Our first real one-on-one scene with Richard Holt, and there's something really useful language tucked into this quiet, tense little meeting. Let's start with James, right at the beginning. He just goes over your reports, asks a few questions. To go over something means to review or examine it carefully, usually together with someone else. It's a really common phrasal verb in professional settings. Can we go over the numbers before the meeting? Or let's go over your presentation one more time. Notice it's different from simply looking at something. Going over implies a more careful, often collaborative review. Now, let's look at Richard's line a little later. Did that explanation satisfy you? This isn't an idiom, but it's worth pausing on grammatically because it's a very direct, almost confrontational question structure, even though the words themselves are completely neutral and polite. In English, sometimes the directness of a question, especially a short, simple one asked right after a pause, can feel much more intense than the actual vocabulary used. This is a great example of how tone and timing matter just as much as word choice in professional English. Let's talk about something Isabel felt internally, though it's not stated directly with this exact phrase. This moment is a perfect example of what we call being put on the spot. To put someone on the spot means to suddenly ask them a difficult or uncomfortable questions in front of others, or in a way that demands an immediate answer, leaving them little time to think. My boss put me on the spot in the meeting, or I didn't expect to be put on the spot like that. It is an incredible useful idiom for describing workplace pressure. Now, pronunciation time. Let's listen again to Richard's question. Did you flag this with anyone? In fast natural speech, did you very commonly blends together into something that sounds like did ya. The d and y sounds merge into a soft j sound. This happens constantly with did you, would you, could you in casual native speech. It's one of the most common sound blends in spoken English, and recognizing it will dramatically improve your listening comprehension in real conversations. Let's look at Richard's offer near the end. You're welcome to bring it directly to me. Grammar wise, welcome to plus a verb is polite, formal way of giving someone permission or an open invitation to do something. You're welcome to join us. Feel free to reach out anytime. It softens what could otherwise sound like an instruction, making it sound more like an open door than a command. This is a really useful structure for professional communication, especially when offering help or access to someone. And finally, let's revisit the title relevant phrase from section 2, doesn't add up. We touched on this idea back in chapter 2, but here, Richard uses it directly. If you ever notice something that doesn't add up, this idiom means something doesn't make logical sense, or the details don't fit together properly, exactly like numbers that should equal each other, but don't. It is used constantly outside of math, too. His story doesn't add up. Something about this situation doesn't add up. It's an essential idiom for describing suspicion or confusion in a clear, natural way. That's our lesson for chapter 4. We covered the phrasal verb go over something, the idiom put someone on the spot, the natural pronunciation blend of did you into did ya, the polite structure, welcome to, plus a verb, and a deeper look at the idiom doesn't add up. So Isabel walks away from her first real meeting with Richard Holt with more questions than answers, and one sentence she can't quite shake. Did that explanation satisfy you? It almost sounded like he already knew. It shouldn't have. In our next chapter, our first knowledge check chapter is just around the corner, and Isabel makes a decision about what to do with a doubt that's been quietly building since day one. I'll see you there.